Hey friend, please subscribe and like the video. 1 second for you, a big deal for me. My name is Graham. I'm 35, the quiet son, the reliable brother, the guy who shows up early, signs the papers, and slips out before the group photo. I don't make scenes. I don't throw plates. I keep the peace, pay the bill, and drive home in silence. Until the night they sat me next to the trash can and told me with a smile that the family table was for family only. It was my brother Luca's engagement dinner at the Hazleton Rooftop, the kind of place that photographs better than most weddings. String lights, a skyline you could drink, a jazz trio soft enough to make you forgive the price of the appetizers. I'd booked it myself, chased dates, negotiated the private room, put the deposit down on my card when Mom whispered, "We'll pay you back," just to hold it. I arrived at 7 sharp in a navy suit I'd saved for important. I had a bottle of champagne for Luca and his fiancée Tessa, with a little embossed card I'd ordered online, L&T. I stepped into the private space and paused. Everyone already had a drink. Everyone already had a seat. And me, well, Luca turned that boyish grin on me and nodded toward a folding chair against the wall, beside the service station and a stainless bin that exhaled lemon rinds and wilted garnish. "Family table's full," he said, almost sing-song. "We put you right there so you'd have some space." It was a joke to them. The kind they'd made my whole life. Small, public, harmless if you laughed along. Mom did her tight smile that means, play nice. Dad lifted a glass in that shrug way that means, don't start. Tessa was mid-story with her friends, bright and lacquered, and didn't notice me at all. So I sat. I placed the champagne at my feet. I folded my coat across my lap like a bib for the next insult. For 2 hours I watched them toast to love and our closest people. I watched a cake with gold leaf appear like a trophy. I watched Luca perform charm like a sport. Not one person asked if I wanted a drink. Not one place setting materialized. The jazz trio shifted to a slow standard and the skyline turned copper, and I realized the only thing that had touched my table was the condensation from the water glass I'd been handed out of pity. Then the check arrived. The waiter hesitated at the head table, glanced down at the card on file, and turned toward me. He was professional, quiet. "Sir, the total for the event is $3,218. Shall I run the same card used for the deposit?" Every face turned. Luca's eyebrows lifted. "Yeah," he said, casual as a yawn. "Graham's got it." Something in me unhooked. I smiled, calm, even. I stood, slid into my coat, and said just loud enough for the whole room to hear, "Not my table." Silence fell like a dropped plate. I nodded toward the head table. "I was told that table is for family only. I'm over here by the trash." The waiter looked between us like a mediator at a custody hearing. Mom's smile failed. Dad tried to measure the air and found there wasn't any. Tessa's father, Mr. Alden, expensive blazer, exact hairline, tilted his head and frowned at Luca. "You invited your own brother and sat him by the trash?" he asked, incredulous. "It was a joke," Luca snapped. The smirk faltered, the tone didn't. He's being sensitive. There it was. My lifelong diagnosis, sensitive as if having a nervous system were a personal failing. "Let's not blow this out of proportion," Mom added, voice sugar over vinegar. "Graham, just settle it. You already paid the deposit." That line, might as well since you already started, was the spark. The one they'd used on me 1,000 times to make obligations sound like kindness. I looked at the waiter. "I didn't eat." "I wasn't seated. Please bring the bill to the host on the contract." He nodded slowly. "The host on the contract is Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore." "My parents." I lifted the champagne. "For the happy couple," I said, setting it gently on an empty corner of their table. "Congratulations." Then I walked out. Not fast, not angry, not anymore. The staircase down from the rooftop felt like a clean cut. Every step was a slice through old scar tissue. Christmases I drove gifts for other people to hand out. Vacations I canceled for emergencies someone else avoided by default. Loans I co-signed to keep the story straight. Our story, the one where we looked like love from a distance. The text started in the Uber. Luca. Dude, seriously, you couldn't just pay and talk after? Mom, you embarrassed us in front of Tessa's family. Was that your goal? Unknown number. Hi, it's Tessa. Can I ask you something? I stared, then answered. Did you really pay for everything? She asked. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. The deposit, I said. The florals. The private room fee, because your planner needed a card to hold it. They told my dad you insisted, she whispered. They told him you refused to sit with everyone because you're introverted. They told him you left for a work emergency. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My dad's furious, she said. Not about money. About principle. He said, if they can publicly humiliate the one person who financed the night, what happens when we're family? We hung up. By morning, the group chat was on fire. My Aunt Karen, blunt, unsentimental, allergic to nonsense, called me independently and said the thing no one in my family had said out loud. About time someone shook the tree. 2 days later, an email found me with the subject line, New Terms. It was from me, drafted at my kitchen table at midnight, printed on decent paper, placed in a clean envelope, and walked next door to my parents' porch before sunrise. It read, effective immediately, I am withdrawing from financial roles I did not volunteer for. I will not serve as guarantor, backup payer, or temporary card for any family expense or event. Hazleton Rooftop's remaining balance is the responsibility of the hosts listed on the contract. If anyone wishes to discuss, we can schedule a conversation with a neutral third party, not at a dinner table. I signed it. It felt like signing myself out of a hospital. The fallout was not theatrical. It was administrative. That's the part our stories never tell. Vengeance, if you even want to call it that, is mostly paperwork. The bank calls were dull. Closing the temporary shared account Luca had used when he was in transition took 11 minutes on the phone and a confirmation email. Canceling the automatic family plan subscriptions that drained quietly from my debit each month needed 3 websites and 1 chat agent who said, "We'll miss you, Graham," like a punchline. Mr. Alden, on the other hand, was not dull. He called me himself. "May I take you to coffee?" he asked. No drama. No requests. I prefer to hear things directly. We met at a place with mugs heavier than their scones. He was polite in that precise, expensive way that discourages lies. "I requested an itemized invoice from Hazleton," he said without preface. "I learned your card secured the booking and covered incidentals until the minimum. I learned your family told me you'd insisted as a gesture. I learned you were seated by a trash can." His jaw worked once. "I raised a daughter to believe what people do with power when no one important is watching." "You don't owe me anything," I said. He nodded. "I owe my daughter discernment." The engagement ended the following week. Tessa wrote me a short email that did something extraordinary. It told the truth without asking me to carry any of it. "I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening in front of me," it said. "You handled yourself with dignity. I want that proximity to dignity in my life, not proximity to noise." My mother showed up on my porch the Sunday after. No mascara. A Tupperware of lasagna like penance. She sat at my kitchen table like the doctor called her in to say her son chose himself and would make a full recovery. "I owe you an apology," she said. "Not a performance, not a barter." The words were plain. "You and your father," she continued, "we leaned on you because you didn't collapse. Luca takes up space. You make space." I told myself those were blessings. I used them like tools. "I didn't see you. Not really. That's the thing about safety nets," I said softly. "People only look at them when they're falling." "I can't fix the years," she whispered. "I can fix this next hour." She didn't ask me to call Luca. She didn't say families fight. She put the lasagna in my fridge and left like a decent person who had decided to get better. Luca's calls tapered from angry to pleading to quiet. There was a message where he tried to perform growth. "I'm working now, like actually working." and one where he blamed Tessa's father for meddling in our love story, which I did not return. Once, late, he said, almost childlike, "If I apologize, will you undo it?" There was nothing to undo. That's the part he didn't understand. I hadn't done a big thing to them. I had stopped 1,000 small things I had been doing against myself. I took the trip to Spain I'd canceled 2 years ago for Dad's surgery and the temporary home nurse I ended up paying for. I bought the good headphones. I went to therapy and learned that boundaries are not electric fences for other people. They're handrails for you. Work got better because I wasn't answering personal crises under the table during meetings. Dinner got better because I ate it hot, at a table I paid for with no one sending me menus by text from restaurants I wasn't invited to. And then, quietly, without fanfare, I started something that would outlast the story. A small scholarship fund for kids who sit next to trash cans at other people's dinners, kids who pay deposits for other people's dreams, kids who are told they're sensitive when what they are is awake. I named it A Seat of Your Own. By spring, it had given 5 students their first semester of no to jobs that would have eaten their study hours. By summer, we were at 18. By the end of the year, 38. Every award letter included a single line: "You are not asking for permission to belong?" A year after Hazleton, I went back to the rooftop. Not for revenge, for perspective. The view was the same. The string light still softened everything. I ordered 1 drink and left cash. No room charge, no family performance. On the sidewalk downstairs, I ran into Tessa by accident. She was with 2 friends, hair in a braid, laughing at something that wasn't anyone's expense. She hugged me. "I'm good," she said, answering the question I didn't ask. I started saying no faster. Turns out a lot of drama evaporates when you stop auditioning for it. Imagine that, I smiled. We parted without needing to make anything symbolic of it. Sometimes Luca sends a picture of a job site, hands dirty for once, a caption like, "Earning it." Sometimes Dad sends a photo of a bird he can't name and asks me to identify it. Mom sends recipes for simple things that aren't apologies but are, quietly, repairs. I may go to Thanksgiving this year. Not because they deserve me, but because I deserve to show up on my own terms, or not at all. If there's a chair by the trash, I'll leave before my coat is warm. I don't need a scene. I only need a door. People ask if I regret not paying the bill that night. I tell them I finally paid a different kind of debt, the one I owed to myself for all the times I looked at the floor and called it love. I am not next to the trash anymore. I am at my own table, and there is room here for anyone who learned the hard way that family only is often a seating chart for smallness. We're done with that now. Pull up a chair.